Welcome back to the Castaway Consultants, where we teach future Survivor players how to play the game by criticizing current players. Today, we are looking at Survivor 47, Episode 7, Our Pickle on Blast. I am one of your co-hosts, Josh Wessler, joined today by Ryan Stacy and Derek Kubicek.
You didn't even introduce yourself as the returning, the wonderful, the well-missed consultant, the linchpin, the glue, the most important consultant, Josh Wessler, back from the East. How's it feel to be back, Josh?
No one cares. I listened to your guys' podcast, and they're fine.
They were fine. Thanks for the ringing endorsement.
Yeah. There's a reason to keep me around.
Was it missing just a special sauce? Because I certainly felt like it was missing the special sauce.
I think so. I mean, listeners, let us know if you need to, if we should vote one of us off the island, aka me. But I think I add something to this podcast, so that's nice.
Horseradish sauce.
Yeah, yes.
I don't like horseradish sauce, so that's supposed to be a burn, but
Oh, okay.
I'm just kidding, Josh. You're more like
Odd.
I was gonna call you ranch dressing, but I feel like I'm the ranch dressing.
No, Ryan, you are if it's a burger, the meat in the bun.
No, we're sauces.
No. We're constructing something here. So you're the meat in the bun. I'm the toppings. Josh is the sauce.
No, we're all saucy boys.
Okay.
We're all saucy boys.
If Ryan wants to call us saucy boys, that works.
Yeah, we're back. Episode 7. We're bringing out the twists again. I don't love it. Like, can we just have a normal episode?
I'm interested to hear you guys' thoughts because I was actually really enjoying this episode. And it ultimately, I think there's just too much going on right now.
Yep.
I'm perfectly fine now that we're fully into the merge situation. I know you guys talked about it last episode. I heard you say this isn't mergatory. This is just the merge.
Yep.
I fully agree. So, now that we're fully into the merge, I'm okay doing a twist like this. But it felt like they just kept adding on more and more and more. Not only is there, I guess I could wait until spoilers, but there's just a lot going on here.
Yeah, do you boys mind if we just get into the spoiler section?
Let's just get into spoilers.
So, spoiler alert, if you haven't watched, go watch
3,
now.
2, 1.
Okay. So I think the big twist we're talking about right now is that we're splitting into two groups again. Circa season 44, the Franny episode where she actually got Matt voted out by not throwing it. Half the people get immunity plus one person on the other group, and then everyone else goes to tribal. I was not offended by this. I know Ryan did not prefer it. I wasn't as bothered by this. I don't remember what my feelings were on it in 44. My biggest issue with tonight is we said last week was the merge with semantics. I think Tiana should be on the jury. I think she made it through the mergatory whatever mechanic they called it, which was basically just a normal merge. I think she should be on the jury tonight, and that's my biggest issue with everything that went down.
Yeah, Tiana should be on the jury. Yeah, I just want to watch him play like a normal. Like after the last vote, no lines were drawn. Cool. Now let's draw some lines. And again, no lines were drawn. Again, come on, Survivor. I don't know. Just Jeff, stop.
I get it. I'm not opposed to the splitting of the tribes, but I think it should have stopped there. Don't give Kyle immunity. Don't put in a potential safety without power advantage into that mess. Like that, because now you're just getting down to only 4 people being eligible to be voted for. Like it just got too small. In my opinion.
One or the other. If you want to throw in a safety without power / block or whatever advantage, fine. If you want to do the split, fine. I don't like that we do both. Let's cool it a little bit. We've cooled it a little bit on the advantages in the new era with 47. Let's cool it even more.
Yeah. I understand where you guys are coming from. I wasn't as offended, but Tiana, if you are listening, big fan of the podcast, I am sorry. I loved seeing how much you cared. The last point I'll say on this is that production was very much bailed out by the fact that all of Tuku ended up in one of the groups of 6.
Interesting split.
Because this wouldn't have been interesting without that happening and someone finding the safety without power and giving it to Rachel. This is a far less interesting twist if exactly this doesn't happen with these numbers. So With that, I'm ready to get into the episode proper, unless any of you guys, either of you have anything else to add.
Oh, let's do it.
I know I missed a few like best and worst and all that stuff, but I don't think it's worth catching people up. But I did mark everything down and shared it with these guys along the way.
And Josh and Derek are both slightly under the weather, so we might speed run this one a little bit just because, especially Josh, I don't know if you can tell listeners, his voice is not as crisp with those dulcet tones as we're used to hearing. So
not so silky smooth.
Yeah,
not as saucy as usual.
Yeah, it's very buttery normally, and we get a little bit of like breadcrumbs in the butter. After you like put some toast on it. That's where we're at tonight. He's feeling crummy.
I can't believe it's not butter. It's margarine tonight.
I liked mine better. He's feeling crummy.
Yours was funny.
Mine was good. It deserved a bigger reaction than I got.
I'll grant it to you. The listeners giggled, I'm sure.
All right, so the episode begins. We're going back to camp. Andy is kind of pissed that he was the backup boat, rightfully so. So he's going to talk to Sol about it. And Sol's like, hey, yeah, I voted for you because Rome was throwing my name out, so I had to do it. And Andy's like, okay, yes, but why me? Fair question. And Sol's basically going to say, yeah, Gata, specifically Sam, threw you out as the backup boat. They told me to vote for you as the backup boat.
By the way,
which isn't completely true. Basically, they asked Gata for their permission for Andy, and they said, if it has to be Andy, it has to be Andy.
So Sue threw that out there. Sam said, if it has to be Andy, it has to be Andy. But Sol was not at that reward. So maybe he doesn't know that, so I don't know if it's a lie.
And if Sam said, if it's Andy at the reward, and that becomes kind of his motto for the rest of the pre-vote, I can see him saying that to Sol to make sure that Sol is filled in, and also that he puts his vote on Andy. The biggest thing for me is that last week I had very tentatively put Sam as my worst player because of this. I do not regret retracting my worst player of the episode and not giving it to anyone because I thought everyone played well. But we do see these seeds germinate this week that Andy is kind of out on Gata. And he's a little bit of Cochran from South Pacific.
Yeah. He's more of like an Aussie. Basically, I'm a free agent.
Well, I was thinking like someone who feels on the outs and is going to flip on his side no matter what, because he feels there's no path to victory with them. So, yeah, I'm not upset that I retracted it because we didn't see these issues, but they did end up bearing fruit this week. So, point being, I was right.
It was a bad spot for Sam to be put in, but what do you do? Andy decides he wants to switch things up. He's going to make an alliance with Sol, and then the next day he's going to make one with Genevieve as well because they both are kind of on their own islands, so they can use each other. So we have a new alliance, seemingly of Andy and Genevieve and maybe Sol, the three of them working together. I think that could be very effective if it sticks together.
I can see Teeny in there as well. Yep. Just bring all of Lavo in. Maybe with Rome gone, they aren't as fractured as we thought maybe 3 episodes ago. It's in their best interest not to be right now.
It's an interesting group of 3 just because these are 3 people that we haven't really seen a whole lot strategically from so far.
I mean,
we had highlights of
we've seen a lot of Genevieve.
In like 1 or 2 episodes. We didn't hear from her early on. So
didn't see her at all in the first episode, and now everybody's like, oh, she's been purple this entire time. No, she was invisible in the first episode. Everyone is exaggerating what happened with Genevieve.
I don't know about everyone. I think
lots of people, the vast majority.
I see purple in episode 1, a bit of an appearance in episode 2, but she's been prominent since then, mostly because Lavo has been a hot mess.
I'm saying compared to the rest of the cast, like comparing it to other people, it just seems not nearly as present. And then you have Sol as well, who strategically also haven't seen a whole lot from him.
Yeah, he's been on the outs for the most part.
Yep.
Rachel, Teeny, Tiana, and Sierra talk about forming a women's alliance and taking out the men, and taking out Gabe next.
And as a man, one thing you have to be scared of in editology is getting the Teeny confessional where it's, they always fall apart before they actually have a chance to come together. Everyone wants to be the Black Widow Brigade, but nobody often is. That said, we have had much more success with women's alliances in the past than we have with any kind of like oppositional force on the other side, particularly like a men's alliance. Again, it's not really a thing, and I'm terrified.
Yep.
I don't want this to happen. because as a fan of Survivor, I can't help but be like, I am never going to be a part of that.
So yeah, we have the Black Widow Brigade, we have the Kim Spradlin One World Alliance, both terrifying alliances, and yeah, so they've kind of fallen apart since then. I mean, typically what happens is one of the women rats on the others, and all the men are like, nope, we're not doing that, and they vote out a woman. That's usually what happens.
Yeah, Cambodia, Vanuatu, that was a very effective women's alliance until it wasn't.
Yeah, so don't be the one to bring it up, is what I'll say. Generally, so if like there's a women's alliance happening, definitely keep, if you're a woman, like keep 1 foot in that, 1 foot out of that, and options open, as Kim Spradlin would say.
My final thought on this particular part, and I thought it was funny. Everything that Teeny has been super excited about so far this season, she's been kind of like a doomsday oracle, but like the inverse of a doomsday oracle. I'm super excited to vote out Rome. Keyshawn goes home. I'm super excited to bring Keyshawn in on Rome's advantage. Rome walks in on Teeny showing Keyshawn the advantage. I'm super excited to start this women's alliance. Did Teeny just doom the women's alliance by being excited about the plan?
Hope so.
I hope so too, but not because I dislike Teeny.
Hey, a woman went home tonight.
Yep. Well, Tiana's the one who went home.
Yeah,
was in that conversation.
One of the spearheads of that conversation.
So we're gonna go to the challenge, and like Derek mentioned earlier, we're gonna get divided into 2 groups of 6. The winner overall of the challenge, the winning group, gets immunity for that entire group. That group also gets reward in food. They get immunity. They don't get to vote at tribal council. They get to observe, so they don't get to participate. So, but they're all safe. Of the other 6, the last
And we're super early into the episode.
Yes, we're 15 minutes in. Of the other 6, the last person standing will win to individual immunity, but that 6 will be going to tribal council. So we're 15 minutes in and we're doing this. This episode was too long. I know we love the 90-minute episodes. This one could have been this meeting could have been an email. This could have been a 40-minute episode. I don't think we would have lost anything. There's a big 20-minute stretch here where I think nothing happened.
Do you want to know why? Because of all of the twists and turns that production stuck in. You only end up essentially with Tuku doing your typical like vote out situation and everyone else being sort of null and void in the situation. Yeah. So in trying to create content, they actually really pared back what was left for us to see.
But that was probably my big problem with this episode, is because we got this twist that did this, the second part that's going to come up later, that didn't rear its ugly head until tribal council. All of our scheming and plotting on the beach and the first half of tribal council did not matter.
You're right.
So I think part of the problem here is, to tell a compelling story, we need those beach confessionals to set us up, tee us up for what's going to happen, and then we follow through. When you throw something in like that at tribal council, it makes it hard to tell a more cohesive story. So just from a production level and an edit level, I think it's a bad call, and I'm kind of surprised Probst and the gang haven't picked up on that.
Well, especially with how present that is when he talks about, like, on the On Fire podcast, he really talks about the story that's being told and how, everything is just scrutinized as far as what decisions they make, and like they play everything out as like, hey, what could happen here? What could happen here? And what is going to make the most compelling and cohesive story. So yeah, I think that's a really good point, Ryan.
Put me on production. I know what I'm talking about. As someone who works in TV.
Ryan, would you give up the chance to be a player to join Survivor production? Yeah.
That's an easy choice.
Yeah, because production, at least I can influence the game in a way that makes it a better show, and I'd rather have a better show than be on Survivor. Like, if I could improve Survivor for everyone, especially me, I would absolutely sacrifice my spot to play, because the older and grumpier I get, the lower I think my chances are, because I'm just like, man, I hate people. I've discovered my weaknesses. I really dislike the vast majority of people, and my misanthropic tendencies might get me in trouble.
I was going to say Ryan's crippling misanthropic tendencies.
Every day it gets worse.
You lose a little bit more faith in humanity.
Yeah, just let the aliens take us, man. I give up. It's unlike Marty in the cabin in the woods. Let the evil ancient gods take over.
No,
maybe it's time.
It's time.
You won't sacrifice me. You can't kill me. I quit.
Exactly.
You can't not cast me. I quit.
So yeah, I know they would cast you, the bunch of like just brain dead idiots, and I would just be miserable. Like, I still want to do it, but yeah, I feel my chances of winning going further away. My big asterisk for whatever I ever get on the show, if I ever get on the show, this is me saving face.
Here's the gif. Here's the gif on social media. Ryan's chances of winning Survivor the older he gets, and then it's like the deuce and disappear meme.
Yep.
Just fade away.
I have become a grumpy old man at the old age of 30.
You're entering your Randy Bailey era.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, so the two groups here, we have the yellow team, which is Sam, Andy, Sierra, Sol, Teeny, and Genevieve. So all 3 lava people and 3 of the 4 Gata people. On blue, it is all 5 Tuku members plus Rachel. Uh-oh.
Oh no.
I'm in danger.
Which, honestly, entertainment value, this is great.
And Derek and I look at each other and we're like, yellow's winning this thing.
Yeah.
100%. And we were right. Teeny and Genevieve are the last one standing, so they win it for yellow, the 2 of them together. Sam, Andy, Sol, Teeny, Sierra, and Genevieve are all safe. Over on blue, Kyle wins individual immunity, so he's safe. So it's one of the other 4 Taco members or Rachel going home tonight.
Small side note, Ryan and I called Genevieve, Kyle, and Teeny as the final 3 to be standing.
Wow.
Now I also had Sierra in there. She failed on a transition, but 3 of like the 4 names that were thrown out made it to the finals. I just thought that was fun.
See, and just edit wise, I was kind of thinking that it was going to be yellow that was going to lose, just because I thought the Andy storyline would work out really well with him, Sam, and Sierra all being on the same tribe there.
And see, I figured since that was kind of teed up in last week's Next Time on Survivor, I'm like, okay, so we're going to stall. That's not going to happen. We're going to go Tuku instead. And I was right. I feel very, very vindicated.
Yeah, Hubicki's hypothesis.
Yep. Thank you, Dr. Christian Hubicki, for your law, Hubicki's law.
Hypothesis. With these divisions of 6 on either side, since this harkens back to season 44 when we all agreed on the podcast, it was in Franny's best interest to throw the challenge to save Matt, and she did not. Matt ended up going home, and I cascaded from boulder to boulder. Franny ended up losing that game. So with this happening again, and the way that it splits, let's say that you're, Sam or you're Gabe or however, whoever you are on the mat, is there a world where you throw this challenge, or you at the very least minimize your odds?
So you definitely want to stay in as long as you can to try and win individual immunity. So let's talk about people make it to the end game. And really the only reason to step down is if you've already won individual immunity, you're safe. Do you step down at that point? That's what happened to Franny.
Yes.
Should she have stepped down after she won, after everyone else on her group had dropped? So that really only leaves us with Kyle. And no, I think Kyle needed to stay in as long as possible because all of his people were on that group, just to keep Tuku together and have that in your back pocket. I don't think Kyle should drop. He lost anyway. It didn't matter. So yeah, I say no one. The only person with the opportunity to throw the challenge was Kyle. And no, I don't think he should.
And to answer my own question, if I may, with all of Tuku ending up on one side, I don't think anybody on the other side should have thrown that at any point whatsoever, because there's a chance that Tuku will have to eat itself and bring them down to a more manageable level.
And then on that same thought process with Tuku, none of them should throw it either because they're all on that group.
My one possible side note to this, let's say it's not Kyle who's the last one alive. Let's say it's Rachel. I think she should step off. I genuinely think she should.
If Rachel's last person standing wins individual immunity, yeah, that might actually be a good idea. So I think if Rachel's last one standing and won individual immunity, she steps off, guarantees that Tuku goes home. That's a good idea.
And then maybe what she tries to do is work with the women who are on Tuku and say, like, I want to make sure that a woman does not go home tonight. I have immunity. I am safe.
Take out Gabe or Kyle.
Take out Gabe or Kyle. So that's the only hypothetical that I wanted to address because we ran into this with Franny before.
I like it.
But unfortunately, she was like the first one out.
Yeah, she's the first one out on her team, second out overall. I think Andy was out first.
Yeah, Andy was the first one out. Again, proving that getting rid of John maybe was for nothing.
So the winning group's going to go on reward, and the 6, they're concerned about Tuku. Like they could just vote out Rachel, and then that is 5 Tuku strong. So Sam's going to suggest the 6 of us work together, and if Rachel goes home, we take out a Tuku next time. Absolutely the right thing to say for Sam here.
Yep. I think this is a fair consensus.
Andy, well, after the feast, they're going to nap, and Andy's going to search for an advantage. And Sierra is going to be like, oh, Andy, did you find anything? Why would you say that? He's supposed to be your ally. Like, I know Sierra's like, I don't really want to work with him anymore. But you could still use him and you might need him. Like, don't call him out like that if he's your alliance member. I did not like that for Sierra at all.
Yeah, call it out afterwards, just one-on-one with him. Just be like, "Oh, did you I saw you. Did you find anything?"
Find anything? Yeah, exactly.
For us?
But Soul is going to be the one to find the advantage. And once they get back to camp, he's going to learn it's the take your pick advantage. Basically, he has to send it over to somebody on the losing team. He can pick whoever, and that person will then choose between one of two options. It can be a block a vote or safety without power. We'll get more into the losing tribe, but, Soul's going to give this to Rachel. And what Derek and I kind of talked about before the podcast is we thought, like, if there's a person you are super close to in that group of 6, maybe give it to them. And if it's all pretty even, and which would make sense because they haven't known each other that long, give it to the odd person out in Rachel. I'm going to ask you guys, do you think Soul gave it to the right person? Personally, I think I'm just going to trust Soul on this one.
Yeah, and this might be inside baseball because we were watching the episode together. Even before we knew what the advantage was, this is too much information. I was taking a dirty diaper outside, and I shouted down to Ryan, I bet the advantage is something that they can give to the losing tribe to affect tribal council. And at that point, it turned into, what should you do with it? I'm going to trust Soul that there wasn't a good enough... Like, we saw him work with Kyle a little bit, but Kyle won immunity.
Yep.
So it didn't really make sense to do something like that. Like, this is your chance to have an impact on the game. So don't give it to Kyle. Obviously, no big connection with Gabe, and obviously not a huge concern about a women's alliance to give it to Rachel, who everyone seems to believe is a social nexus point. He opted to give it to Rachel to force Tuku to eat themselves. And if he deemed that the best move, then I am going to trust him.
Yeah, I think it's basically what Ryan said, where if there's someone you're super close with, give it to them. Otherwise, just cause chaos. It's going to pay dividends in future episodes. So if Rachel uses it to be able to sow some chaos within Tuku, awesome. That's perfect.
Now, this is better than what we did in 44 when we did a version of this twist, and it was the control the vote advantage, which is something I hate.
Yes.
This is better than that. So yes, technically you improved Survivor. Keep going.
What was the mechanic of control the vote?
Basically, Heidi got to play it. I think she played it on Lauren, and basically it's like, I get to choose who you vote for. It's just like,
yeah, that's a steal a vote with extra
it's like
steps.
a steal a vote.
Yeah, it was dumb. It was very dumb. I hated it.
I didn't like that one either. Like, they already lost. Let them vote.
So over on the losing tribe group, the plan seems to be, let's just take out Rachel, keep it simple. But Tiana and everybody, but especially Tiana, they are rightfully worried that if Rachel goes home, it's going to be the Tuku 5 as a huge threat. The other 6 will take them out. Yes. Very fair point. Also, you guys aren't that close. So maybe take out a Tuku member.
Gabe's going to say it later, but we were down to 5 in the pre-merge. There were already discussions about who would be going next. So there isn't one big cohesive group here. It isn't super clear who that person might be. We heard a little bit of Tiana, we heard a little bit of Gabe, but odds are there's gonna be an option that ends up coming up if they're forced into that.
So Tiana and Kyle want to turn things around on Gabe. They want to bring in Rachel and they want to bring in Caroline to make this happen. Caroline is like, okay, I'll hear you out, but I don't really want to do that because in her mind, she's like, yeah, they might attack Tuku if we vote out Rachel here, but they're going to go after Kyle and Gabe, not necessarily the women. Okay. And Caroline is also very scared of Rachel. She thinks Rachel's a very, very good player. So, yeah, okay. There's some points there. Yeah, they might just go for the big, strong guys. And oh darn.
No, I wanted to wait until this part to kind of chime in on my feelings because of the way the edit, we were talking about how the edit often tees us up for what we need to be thinking about because what the contestants are thinking about is what's going to come to fruition. So tee us up for what we should be thinking. The more I sat with this, the more I agreed with Caroline's point, especially in Modern Survivor. I think, yeah, if Tuku takes out Rachel, the next person to go will be on Tuku. But I think that any good group of Survivor players would probably let Tuku make that decision. And if it's going to be Gabe or it's going to be Kyle next, what have you, then you don't have to worry as much if you're Sue or Caroline or Tiana. I know that this is maybe more of a tribal council decision, but I really want to frame our listeners' mindset in, yeah, maybe the next 2 people even to go are Tuku, but if you think that you've got a good relationship with the people who are on the winning side, it is not a big deal to vote out Rachel here. and stay Tuku strong, because lest we forget, even when Green did this last season and Tim ended up going home, Charlie was a legitimate threat to win the game. He nearly did. Maria would have won the game if she made it to the end. They were both on Team Green. So
and Ben was there too. So I mean, those three made it to the final five.
Yes. So it's not a bad thing to stay strong and force people to break you up. So Caroline makes a very valid point here, and I don't want the edit to pull the wool over my eyes too far.
And the other part of this is Caroline is in alliance with Gabe. So yeah, she doesn't want to turn on because they're in an alliance.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I agree with Carolyn's point of view the most here. But is this really the first time that we've heard vocally that Rachel is a big threat?
I think so.
It seems we're hearing that from the mouths of people who weren't on Gata with her. So people at the challenges and whatever pre-gaming happened believed that Rachel was a big social threat.
I'm sure like Sam and Sierra, or probably and maybe even Andy, told people that Annika and Rachel were running the show.
Yeah.
Gabe goes to Rachel. He wants to talk to her, make her feel comfortable so she does not play her shot in the dark. He says, like, we'll take out Caroline. I'm afraid of her. I'll even go to Rocks if I have to. And if I'm Rachel, I'm like, yeah, BS. You're not going to Rocks for me.
That was the point where I'm just like, yeah, no.
That's the point where I'm like, okay, I'm voting for Gabe, and I might even just play my shot in the dark.
Only lies detected.
Yes. So we're gonna go to Tribal Council, and I love this line. We get a line from Caroline. The first half of Tribal Council is just a whole lot of nothing, a lot of circular talk, like, oh, should we vote out Rachel or should we vote out Tuku? And none of this is gonna matter.
It's all one big annoying red herring.
Yep. And we spent a long time on it, but I do like Caroline talks about the difference between big moves and smart moves and big smart moves. I'm like, yes, thank you, Caroline.
Yeah, we talk about the Lex all the time. Can you move the pieces and can you move them right? Because Lex can move the pieces, always wrong.
But it's going to be end up Rachel pulling out the take your pick advantage. She picked safety without power. She's like, yes, sorry, not sorry, but I'm going to take the sure thing. And she does the fade out meme.
The deuce and fades out.
So she just leaves Tribal Council. She is off the table. Someone from Tuku is going home. The reactions are very funny, I got to say.
I feel like it goes without saying that she made the right choice of which two, and I don't think it's even close.
Not even remotely close. This is the most obvious play of all time.
I think even at that point, it's about presentation. I like how she pulled it out and said, I just got this 20 minutes ago. I'm not trying to jerk you guys around. And I hope you understand, I'm leaving.
Bye.
You would do the same thing. Don't lie.
Don't hate me, but also, I don't care. Bye.
You can hate me from here. I'll be over there.
See you back at camp. And Saul's going to play very dumb over on the jury seats, like from the observation. Like, who did that? Oh, what is happening?
I love this from Soul.
Yeah.
I love when you have a secret to reveal, especially if this has huge down game implications.
Yeah, he could form a bond with Rachel, and if he makes the final Tribal Council, he can do that big reveal like, that was me all along. We're going to get the big whispers. Everyone stands up and panics in live Tribal. It's presented to us as Caroline being the swing vote. Kyle and Tiana wanting Gabe out. Gabe and Sue wanting Tiana out. Caroline is the swing. And clearly she picked a side and told Kyle what she was going to do because it's going to be 4 votes for Tiana, 1 vote Gabe. This is the right move. Caroline stuck with her alliance.
I agree that it's the right move. The only person who I think maybe played poorly was Kyle, showing his hand too much to Caroline in the discussions. I think he still needs to try and keep some lines open, and those lines are with Tuku. So saying to Tiana that Gabe is running the show and he's this big player and he's this big threat, he can't be controlled. And I know that we're talking
said that to Caroline.
Yeah, to Caroline. And I know Tiana was being talked about like this, and then Gabe kind of threw Sue under the bus. I didn't love Gabe doing that because Kyle would be able to, because Gabe told Kyle, we can control Sue. Mm-hmm. She'll do whatever we tell her to do.
Oh yeah, Gabe is gonna get his comeuppance, but
he may not though, because he told it to Kyle. Kyle already tried to throw this back in Gabe's face and it didn't work.
Gabe's gonna get his comeuppance.
It's possible, but I agree that this is the best move for all of the people available, especially because we did not see Sue or Caroline in the semicircle for the Women's Alliance.
Gabe and Sue really wanted Tiana out. Caroline's gonna go along with her alliance. Kyle jumps on board because there's nothing else to do. So we gotta do.
Yeah, definitely the right move. And it's good to see that they probably were going to make the right move in voting out Rachel too, just based off of their reactions. It looked like, we'll never know 100% for sure, but it seemed like it was going to be Rachel.
Yeah, it did.
To me, the key is Gabe was throwing out Caroline's name and not Tiana's name. If we had seen Gabe throwing out Tiana's name, I think there's a chance that Tiana would have been plan A. But Gabe inexplicably was throwing out Caroline's name, which we didn't even talk about that. I don't like that.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to come back to bite him because I don't think anyone else knows about this. At least we weren't shown. But, I was just trying to make her feel safe. But yeah, that could have blown up in his face.
But either way, yeah, I trust Tuku with what they did, and I think Tiana was probably the right move. What did Twitter think?
Ha
Twitter's
back,
back.
baby. The thing that everyone loves, social media. Well, according to Twitter, pretty split. We had 61% of the vote come in at no. It was the wrong person.
I'm guessing they don't like Gabe. That's my guess.
I can see it.
Either that or they don't like the twist and they're just taking it out on the poll.
Yeah. But I know Gabe is not super popular in the Survivor Lexicon because of the way he talks about the Broken Bird Alliance. People don't like the way he talks about Sue and Caroline like that. So
that's closer to Russell than not, but also I don't want to say that Gabe is like Russell at all. Because
why did you say it?
Well, because Russell talked about like the dumbass girl alliance.
Oh, okay.
Like I think that's the comparison, but
I had not heard Broken Bird Alliance.
That's episode 1.
Episode 2.
2. Episode 2.
I must have missed that. Okay.
Yeah, like why are you calling them Broken Birds? Like I feel like that alliance it's a very specific name and it needs context, and if it doesn't have context, it's weird. That's a weird thing to say. Like what makes the Broken Birds, Gabe?
It does, it does kind of seem like what Russell's thought process was. I see it.
That's why I say it's closer to Russell than not. Gabe does not seem like a raging prick.
Nope.
And a miserable person to be around, and that's obviously a delineation.
I think he needs to explain himself a little bit though.
Just strategically.
So let's get into best and worst player of the episode. Josh, start us off. Who was your best player of the episode?
This is kind of a weird one. I went with Andy here just because I like that he's able to recognize his spot in his tribe, or I guess in his alliance, and is doing something about it, more importantly. So he's reaching out and making new bonds with both Genevieve and Soul. And he kind of got his hand caught in the cookie jar with Sierra at the challenge looking for an idol. I don't think that matters. And Genevieve had a little bit of reaction, but I at least like that he is exploring his other options just in case he needs to. He's also not burning those bridges with Sam and Sierra, so it's not like he has to do that, but at least he might have the option going forward.
So I had Soul. He made an alliance with Andy. He found the advantage. He made the right move in saying it to Rachel, really shook things up, so I gave mine to Soul.
Yeah, Soul, the only amendment I would make to what Ryan said is he very likely single-handedly fractured what remained of Gata.
Yeah.
So like by making that alliance with Andy and fixing that relationship by saying, "Hey, I voted for you. This is why," he may have single-handedly leveled Gata.
So he fractured Gata and Tuku in the same episode.
Incredible.
Yeah. So you sure, Josh?
No, I'm sticking with Andy.
Okay. I'll bring us over to worst player. For me, I have Sierra as my worst. I think most people were pretty good tonight. The one thing I noticed that we didn't get is we didn't see Sam or Sierra do any damage control with Andy. Maybe it happened. We didn't see it. And if they didn't do it, when Andy was asking, like, was I the backup vote? That's a big miss on their part. So they're both bad, but then I'm going to give the edge to Sierra because I didn't like how she called out Andy on the reward for searching for an advantage. So my worst player is Sierra.
I agree with Ryan that it's Sierra, and it was because of how she called out Andy on reward. Whether or not she knows that Andy is already on the fence, this is the kind of thing that really takes you off the fence and beyond recovery. I have Teeny on here as well for consideration just because of how excited Teeny was to jump on a women's alliance, and now Tiana has gone home. Those two were kind of the spearheads, so with Teeny being the only one left after Tiana's gone might be a bad look if the information comes out. It's not enough to put her above Sierra, and I would even agree with Sam, but I just wanted to mention Teeny as a name as well for someone with potential downside this episode.
I was actually really close to just having an NA here just because I didn't think that there was anyone who played really poorly I guess I can give it to Sierra just because there's like that. It is literally just that one comment that she made to Andy, and that's it. So I don't even think it was that bad of a comment to make, but more negative than anything. So sure, that's all you got. But I'm giving it to her.
To a good Survivor player, it might not be that big of a deal, but Andy spirals, and she knows this. Gotta know your
I
audience.
agree, Derek.
So we're all on Sierra to maybe varying degrees, but we're in consensus.
All right, let's get into who is going next. Derek, last week you had Sam going. You were wrong.
Yes.
I had Tiana going, and I was right.
Yes, you were.
Let's hope the trend continues, or you agree with me, and that would be fun too.
And by the way, I had Tiana, so I predicted that correctly.
So what I loved about this, Sam and Tiana were on different, I guess, temporary tribes. I think Sam would have gone if Yellow had lost.
Yeah, I agree.
So one of us was bound to be right, even though we kind of fell backwards into the setup. I am going to stick with Sam, though. I think partially, if I'm taking a play out of Ryan's book, Hibicki's theory, we need to get rid of all of Tuku. Okay, so it's not going to be anybody from Tuku. Who's left? Well, that means it's Lavo versus Gata, and Gata's gotta go. And if someone's got to go, I think it's going to be Sam because of the wrath of Andy. Whether or not that's a good move for Andy, it remains to be seen. But I am sticking with Sam, and I'm interested to hear what you guys think.
Josh?
I had Sam, and this is the first time I've ever really put down someone on Gata like that. So I think that I wasn't really expecting much out of the edit when it came to this. Just from last week's episode of the Next Time on Survivor. But we got all the confirmation we needed here. It seems like Andy is fully committed to burning Gata. And who's he going to come for first? The person he felt closest to.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I think it's Sam. I think we're not going to go after Tuku because that's what Next Time on Survivor told us. So we're going to go the other way. That's Gata, and it's got to be Sam.
If it is Tuku, I've got a dark horse pick for you guys. I think it'll be Kyle because he's winning immunities.
Yeah, I can see that. Let's get into who cannot win this game. In the last podcast, Derek, you and I both had Andy and Tiana.
Yes.
Josh, who were your two?
I also had Andy and Tiana.
Okay, so we're on the same page. So the question is, does Andy move up? And who's going in Tiana's spot? Josh, start us off.
I'm going to pull a bit of a Derek here and at least use his philosophy of not moving someone out of the can't win until they prove it to me with an actual move. We got, a lot of talk this episode about him wanting to make these moves with Genevieve and with Soul, but that's all just talk until it happens. So I'm going to keep Andy in the can't win conversation. The other person that I'm going to now put there, there aren't a lot of great options here. We got rid of back-to-back Rome and Tiana, good job, guys. I'm going to go Sue. The main thing I'm seeing with Sue is whenever she comes up in conversations, like her actually having a conversation with people, it almost always seems like it's what do you think? She's always asking people what they think or what they think they should do. And while that can work sometimes, I feel like that's going to end up hurting her in the end because it seems like she isn't actually pushing forward any strategy. So I think it's going to be real hard for her to take credit for anything in the end.
Yeah, I'm going to keep Andy, and I'm also going to say Sue for a few reasons. One, nobody's really talking about her in any super positive capacity. Two, she's been very much kind of a follower up until this point with Gabe and with Caroline. And then the other thing I've noticed is she's been a little bit spiteful. People cross her, you're dead to me, Abby Maria, like I will cut you kind of attitude. And that's not great. Like I know she's got an axe to grind with Kyle, and she just doesn't feel like she's that open to working with him again, and that's not something you want to see. I do think she can still win, technically, because this is a very close cast. And like I said last week, I think Andy can win, but if there are two people who can't win this game, they are Andy and Sue for me.
We do not officially issue our rank down, jank down, and dank downs until next week because the jury will have started.
Yep.
I did clarify this with Ryan.
I was gonna ask. I
I-
put mine together just in case if you guys were wondering.
So I clarified with Ryan post episode, and he said it's when the jury starts. So even though I agree that Tiana should have been on the jury, we will start this next week. I needed to build my bottom 3 in order to pick my who can't win. And for my bottom 3, I had Andy, I had Sue, and I had Caroline. Now I said, okay, I'm going to put those 3 in the final 3. Who wins? And I think Sue right now might do it because in order to do that, she has an idol that needs to be played. Gabe needs to go out. And I think Gabe would absolutely vote for Sue because she didn't waver like Caroline did. So there's a whole lot of X factor in here that I don't know. But there are more certainties that I don't want to say certainties, but there are more things that I'm comfortable with in Sue's story if put up against Caroline and Andy in a final 3. So I'm going with Caroline and Andy. I don't feel great about it because like Ryan said best, this is a very close cast.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't agree with your logic.
Don't agree.
You don't have to agree with it, but I built my bottom 3 and said, who do I know the most about and feel good enough about to maybe hand them the win in that bottom 3.
Like you made a lot of assumptions there, which is fine. Too many for me.
Well, I mean, we're all making a lot of assumptions for who can't win.
Yeah, but you're making more an assumption of the future, and I feel like I'm not as much. I feel like I'm strictly looking back. And you were like, oh, she has to play her idol, and she has to turn on or take out Gabe.
Well, fine. She found the idol. She has so she's done more in that respect. She's found the idol.
Yeah, but if
she's
you don't
played a loyal game.
I mean, look how
she
that helped
has a
Xander.
target on her back for being an older woman in Survivor and finding success. She linked up with a man who and then had like this really strong, tight alliance bond with him. She's known to be in this sort of mother-daughter duo with Caroline, and if that's the case, who's going to win between the mother-daughter in a final 3 situation? I think it might be the mother.
No, the mom never wins.
Not
in Final Tribal Council.
Not if the mother is like Dawn and requires constant emotional support. But I do think that she could still win.
I don't think any mom can really like the person who takes the motherly role is screwed. Lisa Welchel.
But Sue's not mother to the tribe. It's a mother-daughter.
True.
With Caroline
in the mother-daughter role, the daughter will win.
We'll see. I have Caroline and Andy, and I'm not moving.
Okay. I'm interested to see the rank downs next week. How about that? A nice little teaser preview. We will be doing the link downs, the listener link downs again. Like Derek said, not this week, so you don't need to submit them this week. But just get ready for that next time.
The last thing you do is the Survivor Pool. Checking in the Survivor Pool. Everyone who's been playing along with us, we've all made it again. We haven't lost anybody yet. We're all through another round. It's pretty wild. So. Yeah, I had Soul last time.
Derek and I both had Teeny for our Survivor Pool picks.
All right. So no one has any advantages besides Sue, and I've already picked her. That's kind of usually how I do this. So, okay, who is the next safest person? Who are people not going to come after? I can't pick anyone from Lava. I've used them all. That's where I would go. So I'm going to stick to the Tuku side of things this time instead of Gada because I think someone from Gada is going to go. Who do I think is the safest of the Tuku people? I'm going to land on Caroline. So Caroline is my pick.
Caroline is also my pick.
Caroline was my pick too.
No way.
All right. Well, so we're insofar as our game between us 3, it's essentially a push to next week, which I think is hilarious.
Yeah, because if Caroline goes next week, between the 3 of us, it's a tie. Anyone else who picks somebody else, you'll get to gloat until you beat us. But between the 3 of us, it would just push to the next week.
I like the push.
And we're going to start coming down here because like if you eliminate Caroline from the options, like Ryan only has 5 people left, Derek has 5 people left, and I have 5 people left. So we're getting down there, and you could lose 2 people each week if one of those people get voted out that's eligible. So gonna get good here.
Okay, and that wraps up this episode.
Yeah, no new forks for me, by the way.
Okay, I'm excited to see if some lines are going to get drawn at some point. That'd be nice. Social media. Yeah,
you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Castaway Pod. Should I do it in my Josh voice like Derek did last week? Oh yeah, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram.
That is the worst.
Castaway Pod.
That is the worst Derek imitating Josh, like Josh imitating Derek imitating Josh voice I've ever heard.
That's your fault.
Because I actually went more like this. You can follow us over on Threads and on Instagram.
See, now, you weren't too far off last time, but that was a little bit more Morty from Rick and Morty.
See, I'm mocking Josh, mocking me, mocking Josh.
Yeah.
And also both episodes that you covered the social media, Threads was the first thing that you mentioned in both of them, which I think is the only one I never mentioned.
I do it because I hate social media so
Fair.
much, and I think Threads is hilarious for existing.
Yeah, Castaway Pod, which is Twitter and Instagram, Castaway Consultants on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. We have a website, which is thecastawayconsultants.com, where you can search everything on there. And then, Derek, you can go talk about your Spotify.
Yeah, again, for the listeners, queue up your lank downs. You can keep sending the survivor pools and the lank downs. Just make sure you tell us what's which and where and define it. If you're doing a lank down, let us know who you think is the biggest threat to win the game and who's the smallest threat to win the game. So sometimes it's hard to figure out which direction is which. Otherwise, just leave a general comment. Go on Apple, leave us a 5-star review, and if it's appropriate, we will read it out on the podcast. And other than that, thanks for the engagement, and we appreciate the growth this year.
All right, this has been the Castaway Consultants.
Got nothing else for you.
Good night.